What if I told you that everything we watched unfold in that courtroom wasn't real? That behind the tears, the testimonies, and the judge's gavel, a far more sinister game was being played? What if the man who stood there as the victim, pointing fingers, was actually the one pulling the strings from the shadows? Because that's exactly what Bambi just revealed. And let me tell you, her words weren't just shocking, they were dangerous. Bambi didn't come to cry. She didn't come to play the victim. She came to drop a bomb that might flip the entire love and hip-hop universe upside down. This wasn't just a clapback. This was a declaration of war. For months, the world dragged Bambi's name through every dark corner of the internet. Memes, TikToks, reaction videos, calling her manipulative, vindictive, toxic. They painted her as the woman who destroyed Lil Scrappy's life, the villain in a messy reality show saga. And through it all, she remained silent. But that silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. Because when Bambi finally broke her silence, she didn't just come with tears and accusations, she came with receipts. Private messages, deleted footage, court documents that the public was never supposed to see, evidence that Stevie J allegedly lied under oath and dragged her through the mud to cover his own dirty secrets. And she named names of people, sitting right next to Stevie J in court. Names that sent shockwaves through the entire reality TV world. This wasn't just drama. This was betrayal, conspiracy, and if proven true, this was jail time. The internet roasted her mercilessly. She was accused of being the mastermind behind Scrappy's downfall. But behind closed doors, a far darker story was brewing. According to Bambi, Stevie J wasn't just stirring the pot. He was carefully planting lies directly into the legal system. Bambi claims he manipulated testimonies, submitted forged text messages, and created fake conversations that painted her as a vindictive wife hell-bent on revenge. Sources from Bambi's camp, anonymous but credible, claim that screenshots submitted to court had obvious irregularities. The timestamps didn't match. The conversations appeared copy-pasted. And yet somehow these fabricated documents were allowed into court files. The manipulation ran so deep that Bambi's legal team was never even notified about these new evidence submissions. They were slipped in quietly through shady backdoor channels. Evidence planted in a custody battle, and the court took it seriously. And while all of this was happening, the world was too busy laughing at memes to stop and ask why Bambi wasn't speaking up. Because in the court of public opinion, silence equals guilt. But now that she's talking, every single person who jumped on that hate train is questioning everything. Because Bambi didn't just bring claims, she brought proof. Call logs, unreleased texts, private DMs allegedly showing Stevie J coordinating statements with other people involved in the case. And in those messages, Mama D's name showed up too. According to Bambi, Mama D wasn't just innocently sipping tea in the background. She was actively helping Stevie craft the narrative that Bambi was the aggressor, the manipulator, the mastermind, all while playing innocent for the cameras. But the most damning piece of evidence? An audio recording. Bambi's legal team claims it's a phone call between Stevie J and a third party where he's heard saying, "We just need her out of the way. Once she folds, Scrappy can get full custody and we can clean this whole mess up." If that audio is proven real, it's not just manipulation anymore, it's conspiracy. It's obstruction of justice. And it would open the door for an entirely new trial. One where Stevie J might not sit as a witness, but as a suspect. The court system wasn't the only place shaking. The internet exploded. Twitter flooded with posts. Bambi was framed. I owe her an apology. Stevie J is literally the devil's intern. I can't believe this man's been unchecked for so long. Even celebrities weighed in. K. Michelle reposted the leaked texts with the caption, "Who? I always knew Bambi was too quiet for this to be the whole story." Tamar Braxton tweeted, "Betrayal at this level should be criminal. That girl deserves peace." Even Scrappy, who had stayed mostly silent during all this, finally posted a cryptic story. The truth always comes out, even if it crawls. Fans instantly started speculating, whose side was he really on? And then came the moment that shifted everything. Bambi didn't just sit for interviews or post cryptic messages. She launched a live stream. But this wasn't some polished PR move. No filters, no makeup, no flashy production. Just Bambi, in a black hoodie, sitting in a bare room, flipping through court transcripts. She held up one page. "This right here," she said, "is a statement made under oath. And it's a lie." The chat exploded. Over 90,000 people tuned in within. The first 5 minutes, Bambi continued, "He told the court I made up abuse allegations, that I orchestrated a smear campaign. But what he didn't mention, what no one wants to mention, is that Stevie J was already under investigation for witness tampering." She wasn't done. "I wasn't the only one warned not to talk. There were others, cast members, who suddenly went silent. Ask yourself why. This wasn't spilling tea. This was pouring gasoline on an already burning fire." Fans started tagging everyone, Carly Red, Spice, Tokyo Vanity, demanding answers. Why had so many people who once defended Bambi suddenly disappeared? Then came the next nuke. Bambi played a voice recording, allegedly Stevie J speaking, to a producer. His voice scratchy and annoyed. "I don't care what we gotta do. Just make sure that courtroom footage never airs. I'm not about to get dragged into no perjury case over that girl." Even if people doubted its authenticity, the damage was already done. The internet believed it. Stevie J's camp remained silent for almost 48 hours, and that silence was deafening. Meanwhile, Lil Scrappy made what would be his biggest mistake. In what many saw as a petty shot, he reposted a meme of Bambi wearing clown makeup with the caption, "When you lie so much, you forget the truth." But instead of damaging Bambi's credibility, the post completely backfired. The internet turned on Scrappy instantly. Old clips resurfaced where Scrappy himself had called Stevie J a snake and toxic to women. Now fans were asking, what changed? That's when an alleged former assistant leaked a resignation letter to a gossip blog, claiming Scrappy and Stevie had been secretly working together to get Bambi blacklisted from Love and Hip Hop entirely. According to the document, they even joked in group chats about how easy it was to gaslight the fan base. Neither Scrappy nor Stevie addressed the claims directly. But Bambi wasn't slowing down. She posted a photo of an official court envelope from Fulton County with the caption, "Y'all forgot who you were messing with." The internet exploded again. Was she filing charges, defamation, a racketeering case that could implicate producers, executives, even network heads? Within hours, fake documents started circulating claiming subpoenas had been issued for Stevie J and Scrappy. Even though nothing was confirmed, the internet ran with it. TikToks reenacted imaginary courtroom scenes. Reddit threads mapped out the entire Bambi conspiracy timeline. Through it all, Bambi remained silent, which only fueled the fire more. Then came one of the biggest twists yet. An alleged former Love and Hip Hop editor appeared anonymously on a YouTube gossip channel live stream. Face hidden, voice distorted. They dropped a bombshell. There were entire scenes we were forced to cut, scenes that made Bambi look sympathetic. But the narrative was already decided. They wanted a villain, and they chose her. That's when the floodgates opened. More so-called insiders came forward. Some claimed Bambi was targeted for being too outspoken. One even alleged Mona Scott warned her to play the game or get edited out. Whether these insiders were real or chasing clout no longer mattered. The internet believed them. Bambi's story was no longer just hers. It became a symbol for every woman in reality TV who had been painted as bitter, messy, or difficult. While their real stories were twisted into entertainment, and Bambi, she was ready for war. Her legal team released a statement confirming they were exploring legal remedies for defamation, character assassination, and suppression of evidence. In simple terms, they were preparing to sue everyone. At that point, this wasn't Love and Hip Hop anymore. This was a full-scale legal battle. VH1 reportedly held emergency meetings. Rumors swirled that Mona Scott quietly flew into Atlanta under a fake name. The entire industry was rattled, but Bambi stayed silent. No posts, no rants, nothing. Until Friday night. Without warning, she posted one screenshot, an email addressed to her legal team titled "Urgent Request for Private Mediation." The sender? A high-ranking network executive. Fans lost it. Was the network trying to settle? Did they know she had real receipts? And if they were offering mediation, what exactly were they trying to hide? Bambi broke her silence again with one sentence. You don't ask for peace if you've done nothing wrong. The internet erupted once more. Hashtags like Char Justice for Bambi, Char Expose Stevie J, and Love and Hip Hop Lies trended for 48 hours. But the wildest twist was still coming. Still coming. Erica Dixon, Lil Scrappy's ex, went live on Instagram sipping wine, wearing her signature smirk. Listen, she said, I don't mess with Bambi. Never have. But this time, I believe her. And y'all don't even know the half of it. Erica went on for nearly an hour, confirming that production manipulated multiple narratives, that Stevie J had been pulling strings for years, and that Scrappy always knew. He used to come home venting about Stevie telling producers what scenes to air, she said casually, like she wasn't dropping dynamite. At this point, the scandal wasn't just about Bambi, it was about the entire system behind reality. TV fake court documents spread across blogs claiming Bambi had filed a civil suit for emotional distress, defamation, and malicious production interference, naming Stevie J, producers, network executives, even cast members. Was the lawsuit real? No one could confirm. But it didn't matter. The public believed it. Stevie J finally tried to fight back. He posted a heavily filtered video calling Bambi a bitter liar and washed-up storyline chaser. But it was too late. The damage was irreversible. The comment section tore him apart. Fans flooded his post with clown emojis, calling him the real manipulator. And just when everyone thought it couldn't go any further, another voice entered the arena. That voice came from someone deep inside, the reality TV machine itself. A former showrunner, known only as Rico, appeared on an anonymous podcast interview. His face was hidden, his voice distorted, but his words, they hit like a freight train. There is an internal blacklist, Rico said. A list of cast, members who were labeled difficult, uncontrollable, or simply refused to follow the script. And yes, Bambi's name was on that list. But it wasn't just her. Rico casually dropped names, some obvious, some shocking. Women who had suddenly vanished from the show without a send-off. Women who hinted at lawsuits and then disappeared quietly. Now fans began connecting the dots. Reddit threads turned into full-blown investigative boards. Comment sections became FBI-level investigations. Suddenly, this wasn't about Bambi versus Stevie J anymore. This was about a system that chewed up women, used their trauma for ratings, then spat them out when they refused to be puppets. And Bambi? She wasn't done fighting. In a full sit-down interview with one of the biggest gossip channels, she laid it all bare. I spent years letting the world believe I was the problem, she said. That I was toxic, angry, aggressive. When in reality, I was trying to survive a show that never wanted to tell my truth. They wanted a villain. And they paid Stevie to make sure I stayed one. She claimed producers offered Stevie J bonuses for every cast member he could help turn against her. That confessionals were reshot weeks later, scripted, rehearsed, and edited to make her look irrational. And when she tried to quit, they threatened to sue her for breach of contract and destroy her reputation publicly. The interview left viewers stunned, not just because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Calm, clear, unapologetic. She wasn't broken. She was furious, and she was just getting started. The very next day, VH1 quietly removed several old clips from their YouTube channel. Clips where Bambi had been portrayed as unhinged or aggressive. Deleted. Scrubbed as if they never existed. Fans caught it instantly. Why would the network suddenly scrub these clips if everything was innocent? Right on cue, TMZ dropped an exclusive. Bambi's team was reportedly in early settlement talks with the network, but Bambi wasn't playing that game. She clapped back. On her story, there will be no silence. We're going all the way. And at that point, fans completely mobilized. Social media turned into full-on investigative journalism. Timelines, diagrams, subpoena predictions. Fan pages were mapping out witness trees like an FBI task force. But then came one final blow. From Lil Scrappy's own family. His cousin, in a now-deleted Facebook post, wrote, "Y'all think Bambi lying? I remember when Scrappy told Mama D that Mona said, keep Bambi on a leash or she'd be cut from the show. Now they want to play innocent. Instantly, Mama D was dragged back into the storm. Fans flooded her comments. She went live the very next day, calmly sipping tea with her little dog sitting in her lap. And while she didn't admit anything outright, she didn't deny it either. "I told them years ago," Mama D said. "Messing with that boy Stevie would bring the devil to your front door. And now, the devil's knocking." Within days, this wasn't just a love and hip-hop scandal. This was a movement. Think pieces were written. Petitions were launched demanding VH1 publicly apologize. Celebrities began speaking out. Amber Rose posted a heart-free Bambi on her Instagram story. Tokyo Vanity tweeted, "This why I walked away. They feed off your pain and sell it for views." And then came the announcement that shifted everything. Again, Bambi released a trailer, a full documentary. Title, Framed: The Bambi Story. The trailer was simple but devastating. Behind-the-scenes footage, unreleased confessionals, emails, texts, receipts. The tagline? "You watch the show, now it's time to see the truth." The trailer alone hit 1 million views in just 48 hours. Fans instantly dubbed it Surviving Love and Hip Hop. And the industry? The industry panicked because now Bambi wasn't just speaking up. She was flipping the entire table. The documentary promised to expose how storylines were fabricated, how real trauma was weaponized, how cast members were forced into toxic confrontations under contract, and how certain producers allegedly encouraged personal betrayals to boost ratings. The industry shook, and the network started moving in desperation. High-ranking executives from VH1 reportedly scheduled secret meetings with Bambi's legal team. Multiple insiders leaked that the network wanted private mediation to avoid a full public court battle. But Bambi's team refused. Instead, Bambi posted a single sentence on her Instagram story. "If you've done nothing wrong, why are you so scared?" The internet erupted again. Hashtags like "Ire expose VH1" and "reality TV exploitation" trended worldwide. Entire YouTube channels dedicated themselves to breaking down every frame of the documentary trailer. Twitter Spaces ran 24-hour live discussions with thousands of listeners, and the legal pressure kept mounting. Bambi's team reportedly filed official subpoenas targeting not just Stevie J and Scrappy, but also certain producers, editors, and executives involved in crafting the narrative that painted her as unstable. Documents began circulating online, some real, some fake, claiming charges ranging from defamation to emotional distress, contractual coercion, witness tampering, and even potential RICO violations for organized efforts to defame. Even though none of these filings were confirmed at first, the story took on a life of its own, and behind closed doors, insiders admitted, this time Bambi wasn't bluffing. Meanwhile, Stevie J attempted one last PR stunt, a live Q&A on Instagram. He smiled, cracked jokes, denied everything, and painted Bambi as a bitter ex chasing clout. But his comment section quickly became his worst nightmare. Fans swarmed him with receipts, screenshots, and questions he couldn't dodge. Some even played audio clips of the leaked voice memos right in the chat. The live ended abruptly. Behind the scenes, insiders leaked that several Love and Hip Hop cast members had quietly hired their own lawyers, fearing potential subpoenas if the investigation expanded. Even Mona Scott, who'd remained silent through most of the chaos, was reportedly consulting a crisis management team. Then came yet another twist. A second former producer came forward, anonymously submitting a 47-page document to multiple media outlets. The document allegedly contained internal emails, casting notes, and production schedules that showed how specific scenes were manipulated, reshot, or outright staged to villainize certain cast members, with Bambi's name appearing repeatedly. Among the most explosive claims, that some reunion confrontations were pre-planned, that certain cast members were offered financial bonuses to provoke or betray Bambi on camera, that legal threats were used to control who could speak after filming. The document sent shockwaves across not just the fan base, but the entire reality TV industry. Suddenly, major networks began quietly reviewing their own reality show contracts. Legal experts weighed in on morning talk shows discussing whether reality TV had crossed ethical and legal lines. And Bambi? She remained calm, posting only one update, a photo of her and her legal team walking into the courthouse. The caption? "We're not done. Not done." As the court battles loomed, more supporters came out of the shadows. Former cast members from different franchises, not just Love and Hip Hop, began hinting that similar things had happened to them. Former editors, assistants, even security, staff started leaking bits of information supporting Bambi's claims. Soon this wasn't just her fight. It became symbolic for every woman who had been silenced, edited, or manipulated by reality TV. As the trial dates approached, media coverage exploded. TMZ, Shade Room, People, even CNN began covering the story. Panel discussions debated the ethics of reality TV contracts. Attorneys weighed in about whether reality shows exploited mental health crises for entertainment. And behind closed doors, network executives grew increasingly nervous. One particularly damning piece leaked weeks before the first hearing, an alleged private email exchange between two network executives joking about how Bambi's breakdowns test well with viewers. The emails appeared to confirm that producers intentionally exploited her personal pain for ratings. The backlash was immediate. Major advertisers began pulling their sponsorships from Love and Hip Hop. Hashtag campaigns urged fans to boycott upcoming seasons. A Change.org petition demanding VH1 overhaul its reality TV practices reached over 500,000 signatures. And through all of it, Bambi kept her message clear. This isn't just about me anymore. The first court hearing was unlike anything anyone expected. Paparazzi swarmed the courthouse. Protesters gathered outside holding signs that read, "Stop reality TV abuse," and "We believe Bambi." Inside, legal teams for Bambi and VH1 clashed over the introduction of evidence. Stevie J's lawyers fought to suppress the audio recordings. Scrappy's team attempted to dismiss involvement altogether, but the judge allowed much of Bambi's evidence to enter the record, citing credible allegations of coordinated narrative manipulation. That ruling alone sent shockwaves across the industry, because for the first time, reality TV producers were being held legally accountable for what they once wrote off as just entertainment. Outside the courtroom, Bambi stood before cameras, calm, steady, and direct. "I signed up for a reality show," she said. "I didn't sign up to be lied on, blackmailed, or silenced." The statement went viral. Multiple civil rights organizations began expressing interest in supporting similar cases for other women in reality TV. Several former cast members reached out to Bambi's team to join potential class action suits. And Mona Scott? For the first time since the scandal broke, she issued a brief statement. "I cannot speak on ongoing legal matters. However, I respect all women's rights to share their truth." The damage, however, was already done. Within weeks, several executives at VH1 were quietly placed on leave. Certain upcoming spin-offs were abruptly canceled. And whispers spread that other networks might face similar legal actions if Bambi's case succeeded. Bambi, once painted as the villain, now stood at the center of a cultural reckoning. Her documentary Framed premiered weeks later on a major streaming platform, no longer just a YouTube release, but a full professional production. It immediately broke streaming records. Viewers watched in horror as behind-the-scenes footage showed scenes being manipulated, conversations being twisted, and Bambi's personal breakdowns being used for ratings without her consent. By the end of the 2-hour documentary, there was no longer a question of whether Bambi had been wronged. The only question was, how many others like her were still silenced? Bambi's story transformed from a reality TV scandal into a movement. Interviews on The Breakfast Club, The View, and even 60 Minutes followed. She became a voice for every woman who'd been exploited by entertainment systems that profited off their pain. And as lawsuits continued, VH1 issued a public apology, not just to Bambi, but to all former cast members impacted by unethical editorial practices. Stevie J, facing his own legal troubles, slowly faded from the spotlight. Scrappy issued a statement of apology, claiming he had been manipulated himself. Mama D, surprisingly, became one of Bambi's most unlikely defenders, admitting she had stayed quiet for too long. In the end, Bambi didn't just clear her name. She exposed an entire system. And now, as cameras fade and contracts are rewritten behind closed doors, one thing remains certain. Bambi was never the villain. She was the one who dared to tell the truth.